Today we're going to make a lesson plan for the literacy level ENP Unit 4, Money, Money, Money. And I have my materials laid out. I'm starting with a pen, a pencil, and a highlighter. My lesson plan blank or template. My teacher's edition of English No Problem. And my binder.
So what's the first thing you always do, Angela, when you start?
I look through all of the, actually I look through the entire unit. Even though I'm only teaching these first 2 days.
But they would be fine to look at their day.
But they could look at their days to see. So I look through those just as an overview to see what exactly is going on in this unit. So that's my first thing before I do anything else, is I just scan all the pages. I look at the vocabulary, picture dictionary. I look at the pictures that we're going to be talking about.
So that takes you 15 to 20 minutes or so?
If I read all the activities, it's about 10 to 15 minutes. If I'm just scanning and looking at the pictures and thinking about what the main idea is. So it's the difference between the main idea versus a more intense study of it. So that's the first thing I do. And I have my stickies here, and I have my computer here because I'm going to look up some things online that I might want to do. So usually the first thing I do is I write in the date, which is going to be the 26th. So I'm going to put that on my lesson plan. And I write in the unit, which is 4. Money, money, money. And then I write in the lessons that I'm going to teach. So I'm going to do the unit opener, which is on page 52. And I'm also going to do lesson 1, which is on page 54. So I've got the top part of my lesson plan filled out already. The next thing I do is I take my highlighter and I look at what they suggest for each page. So right here on the initial page where the picture is, it says, follow these steps to discuss the unit title. So I'm going to highlight that, display some money. So right away, I've got my opening activity, because I always try to pick something that's going to grab the attention of my students. And I don't know any better attention grabber than money. Do you? So we're going to put display money on my opening activity. And it just so happens that I have a nice selection of money because I was teaching this unit not from this book but a similar unit last spring, and I went to the bank and I got one of all the different kinds of denominations of money up through 50. There's the 1 and the 2 and the 5 and the 10 and the 20, and I also have the $1 Eisenhower coin and the $1 gold Sacagawea, or who is this?
Susan B. Anthony?
Yeah. Actually, this one is Andrew Johnson here. And a $50, and of course the pennies and dimes and things. So, and it's a good chance that a lot of your students haven't seen some of these denominations. The $2 bill is pretty unusual, as is some of the higher coinage, like the $50 and the dollar coins. So that's what I'm going to have for my opening activity. And then I'm going to look at the photo, because that's the first thing I'm going to do to introduce the activity.
So, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Nope.
And I see in the photo that he's thinking my first paycheck. This is on page 52. Now, I'm not sure that my students understand the difference between a speech bubble and a thought bubble. So I'm going to pay attention when I talk about this page to explain to them, and I'm probably going to draw it on the board. If it has little circles like this, it means they're thinking it. If it has a V like this, it means they're speaking it. So that's something I'm going to talk about when I teach that picture. And I might want to put a sticky there to remind myself, but probably when I see the picture, I'll remember that that's what I want to do with that page. All right, I'm going to look at my pacing guide because I'm ready to fill out what I'm supposed to review. It looks like last time we were together, they did Master 28 for homework. So we're going to go over that at the beginning of the lesson for our review. And then I'm going to see what my vocabulary is going to be. Now right here at the top of the page in the first unit, it lists all of the things that are covered in this whole unit. But those are not everything that that's not necessarily what I'm going to do. That's for the whole unit. So I've got to look and see on my pages what specifically are the ones that I'm doing. So I'm going to look through here and see, oh, it looks like we're talking about going to the bank. It looks like we're doing denominations of money. Oh, and we're doing vocabulary words between 60 and 100. Okay, so vocabulary here on my lesson plan sheet where it says vocabulary, I'm going to write money words, because those are following on my following on my 2 days. Those are falling on my 2 days. And then we're also going to do numbers, 60 through 100. Okay. That's my vocabulary. Now my lesson concepts, it says places in the community. So one of my lesson concepts is going to be places in the community, because I see there that we're going to the bank, and also it looks like he's at his job, so wherever he works. Okay. And okay, so my concept of the day is places in the community. My vocabulary is money words and numbers 60 through 100. So I've written those on my lesson plan format. Now I'm thinking about activities that I want to do with this unit. So I know that I need to plan a couple of things to get my students up and out of their seat. And I also really feel like this money vocabulary is important. So I want to think of an activity that I can do that will reinforce the money vocabulary. And I'm thinking back to my list of active engagement activities, and I think I'm going to do game show. So I'm going to do game show with the money vocabulary. I'm going to split my class into 2 teams, and one person is going to come up from each team, and I'm going to ask them a question like, 1 cent is, and then they have to say penny. 25 cents is quarter. And after I've gone through all those, I might flip it around and then go the other way and say $1 is, and they have to say 100 cents. $50 is, okay? So each team is sending different people up each time. So one set of participants will answer one question, and then they'll sit down, and the next two will come up. All right, so I'm going to put my sticky here on page 55 that says game show, and right here on activities I'm going to write game show. And then down here in my notes I'm going to put make questions for game show. Up here, materials needed, I'm going to write coins and bills of various denominations. So actually I already have those because I used them last year for another unit, but I want to be sure to remember to bring them with me when I come to my class. Okay, so my activity is game show, and then I need one more active engagement piece, and I know there's a lot of good things on the website, so I'm going to come over to my computer, and I'm going to go to newreaderspress.com. I'm going to click on ESL Citizenship and go down to Core ESL. I'm going to click on English No Problem, and then I'm going to choose Free Resources. When I get to that page, I'm going to find the Literacy Reproducible Masters. And then I'm going to scroll over to the unit that we're working on, which is Money, Money, Money. Here it is. And I'm going to see what they have. Here's something that says Lesson 1. I'm teaching Lesson 1. So, oh, that looks so fun. It's a board game. So I could do this in small groups. I could put 3 or 4 students with a board game and some kind of little token that they could move around the board. In fact, I have some little tiny cars that I have left over from teacher training. So each person could get a different color car and they could drive it around the game board. It says, video store, pay $10, gas station, pay $15. So there's different things related to money that they have to do at different places. So they're going to have to read, and they're going to have to add and subtract. I'm going to do that game. That looks like a lot of fun. That is Master 29. So I'm going to write that here with my activities, Master 29. And then up here on materials needed, I'm going to put, I have 12 students in my class, so I need 12, oh actually they're playing in teams, so I need, oh, let's see, I'm going to put 4 in a team, so I need 3 copies of Master 29, and I need my little plastic cars. Now the way I play these board games is I use a coin, and the tails means 1 space and the heads means 2 spaces. So they flip their coin, and that tells them how many spaces they get to move. The game board is not very big, so you only want them to move 1 space or 2 spaces. So I already have my coins there. I'll just snag one of those when I get ready to play the game. We're almost finished. We have our activities the only thing we're missing is we need to write in what we're going to read, and we need to mark what we're going to have them do for extra practice. So it says in my pacing guide that the read aloud is just saving my money. So I'm going to write that right here on the literature blank, just saving my money. And I'm going to make sure I have that book because I want to be able to share with my parents some literature that they can read to their students, their children. And I know I had all of my students said one of their goals was to help their children in school, and we know the best way to help children is to read to them. But a lot of my students have not come from homes where they were read to. So I want to model to them how to read so that they can share that with their own children. And I will probably tell them, this is a great book for you to share with your children because it's simple and it has fun illustrations. And I'm sure that if it's not available in the school library here, that there's a similar book that you can check out to read to your children. And with that introduction, I'm just going to read it to them. And usually when I do a literature selection, I don't do a lot of discussion about it. I want them to enjoy the flow of the story as we go through. I might point out briefly something that's, look at that funny picture or something like that. But I don't want to interrupt the prosody of the selection. I want it to flow. I want them to hear the language. I want them to be exposed to the vocabulary. And I want them to hear the grammar structure. So I'm just going to read it straight through, and then I might discuss it a little bit. Wasn't that fun? Do you think your kids will like that? That kind of thing. Did you ever have an experience like this when you were a child? So just a way to, again, give your students some things that they can use with their children. So that's my literature selection. And then I see on my pacing guide that the extra practice is workbook pages 36 and 38. 36 through 38. So I'm going to write that on my lesson plan. And I'm just going to look over this and make sure I have everything. There's the date, there's the unit, here are the pages I'm responsible for teaching. Here's what I'm going to review. My opening activity, I'm going to bring my money. And I'm going to do the game show with the vocabulary. And then I'm going to give them Master 28, which is the board game for them to play. All right, I'm finished.
Is it a good idea if you have extra time that you might let them start on their homework and you can be reviewing with them anything they might have trouble with?
Sure. If you're ever in the position of running out of something to do, I've never been in that position. I always have more than I can teach usually. But yes, certainly, if you have time, after you've read the story and you've already assigned the homework and you have a few minutes left, say, go ahead and get started on your homework and I'll walk around and help you with anything that's a challenge for you. And I usually, when I'm teaching the class, I will open up the workbook and say, these are the pages that we're going to do, and I'll just kind of briefly talk them through what's expected on each page. Usually it's, we've done some things like that in class, so they're familiar with it already, but I just like to check when I sign it to make sure they understand what they're going to be doing at home.